Hi guys, it's good to have you on the show with me today again, Family Matters. I hope you stay with me till the end of the video because I have a very interesting topic as always, okay? Just like the previous one we did, we talked about setting boundaries, for extended family members and in-laws. Today it's going to be a totally different one, and it's a major challenge we face, in our relationships. So we're going to be talking about it, and afterwards we'll talk about how we can overcome this particular challenge. So what challenge am I talking about? Communication. Yes, this is a common challenge we face in our relationships, and communication is actually a very vital aspect of a successful relationship. Although so many of us have issues with it. So I'm going to be basically talking about some common communication issues that we face in our marriages and in our relationships. So if you stay tuned till the end of the video, you're going to get all the tips I have to give, and you can drop your contributions, your questions in the comment section. And if you have not subscribed, don't forget to do that. Okay, now the first tip I have for you on the basic the common communication challenge we have in our relationship is lack of active listening. You can be jotting down if you want these points, because they can be very useful for you to have a successful relationship. So the first one, like I said, is going to be lack of active listening. Yes, this is actually a very common communication problem we have in our relationships. The thing is, one person is always doing the talking, the other person does not listen, or both of you are doing the talking and nobody is listening. At the end of the day, you're going to end up just making noise or shouting or yelling at each other for a very minor problem that you could have actually solved by just talking about it. So lack of active listening is a really a serious challenge in a communication. So one person is talking, the other person is talking, nobody is listening, or one person is talking and the other person doesn't want to listen. You just want to drop your point, boom, and then off you go. You don't want to hear what the other person has to say. You just want to say what you have to say and go. It is not done like that. So lack of active listening is a challenge, a communication challenge we face in most of our relationships. So the second challenge I am going to be talking about is difference in communication styles. Yes, I hope you took that down. Difference in communication styles. Yes, this part of communication has to do with individual difference. When you are in a relationship with somebody, you need to realize that you guys were brought up from different backgrounds. You have different childhoods, you have different ways of communicating. You need to know the way your partner communicates. You need to understand their way of expressing what they are going through. I'm going to give you an example with myself on this particular one. When I got married at first, the first year, we used to have so many arguments, altercations, because of some little communication issues. I could keep a long face the whole day. Women now, we expect that your partner should know what is wrong with you. Magically, they should know what the problem is. So I used to have that problem. It's possible that this person does not even know they hurt you or they said something to provoke you. Do you get me? So I would just keep a long face, the whole day, create a moody environment, and the whole place would just look somehow. Then this man told me, look, woman, if you don't tell me what the problem is, I would not know. I am not a magician. Then I sat down and had a rethink. I'm like, okay, I've been the problem all this while. You can actually just tell them, look, this is what you did. I don't like it, and then we can talk about it and sort out the issue. But I end up keeping a long face the whole day when I could actually just tell him, look, what you did, I don't like it, and then we'll sort it out. And trust me, when we tackled these communication issues, we have had less arguments and it's been almost peaceful. I'm not saying it's going to be all rosy, of course, but there's what I'm trying to say is that we have difference in communicating with each other. So just learn to know how your partner does theirs, so that you don't end up having arguments all the time. And this can lead to lack of intimacy, because when you end up keeping a grudge, you're not happy with your spouse or partner, trust me, the last kind of feeling you have is anything that has to do with intimacy. So before you know, you are creating, a gap. Intimacy brings you guys together. So before you know, you are creating a distance between you both. These are not challenges we take lightly if you want a smooth and running relationship. So the third communication challenge I'm going to be talking about is defensiveness. Yes, defensiveness. Some partners are overly defensive. You are just about to tell them what you think they did wrong or how you can improve, and they are defensive. Oh, no, I did it right. I did it right the time I did it. There are people who are never wrong. They never accept that they are wrong. Before you even say what you want to say, they have defended themselves. In fact, it is you who is wrong. It is you who is not reasoning in their direction. Being overly defensive, you don't give your partner the opportunity to air out their own views. They end up suffocating and suppressing their feelings because you will not even let them talk or explain. Before they say anything, you have defended yourself. In fact, you did it right, you did it at the right time, you are not wrong. Do you know there are people like that? Some people are never wrong. They know it all. It's quite unfortunate if you're in a relationship with somebody like that, but you can always work things out. Like my father always say, there is no problem without a solution. So if you are overly defensive, I'll actually, advise that you do a little work on yourself. Give the other person an opportunity to air their views, to express themselves, without being defensive, without claiming that you are right and you know it all. Okay, I hope you are taking down the points because I'm going straight up to the next one, which is technology-related issues. I think I'll save that one for the last. Yeah, let's save the best for the last. Let's talk about unrealistic expectations. That is the next point if you are jotting down. Unrealistic expectations. So, the thing is, so many of us go into these relationships or start relationships with so many unrealistic expectations from these people. We fail to understand that they are human just like us. They are flawed. You envision this perfect man or this perfect woman. They should be able to understand you perfectly. They should be able to communicate with you perfectly. So by the time you now realize that these expectations that you had are not met, in fact, you start getting aggressive or even resenting this person for no reason, instead of even communicating or talking about it. So what am I trying to say? Don't envision, your partner or your spouse as this perfect being. Don't have too many unrealistic expectations. But they are just human, just like you. They are flawed. Do you get me? All you have to do is talk on whatever issues you have, and you guys can sort it out. Okay? They are not angels, like I said. They are just normal human beings, and they are flawed, just like you. Just two imperfect people, trying to be perfect for each other. Okay, I hope you took that down. Then, like I said, save the best for last. This one I'm going to be talking about affects almost everybody. In fact, if it doesn't affect you, then I wonder if you're in 21st century. It is technology related issue. Okay, technology related issue. This particular kind of communication issue has affected a whole lot of us, including me. Sometimes I like to give myself as an example. So like I said, let's save the best for last, and this particular one has affected every one of us one way or the other in our relationships, and it has to do with the technology related issue. There are this 21st century thing, I don't know, I think we are sort of abusing it, because you realize that two people living in the same house are with their phones 24/7. You can be in a house with somebody, and if you calculate the time we spend on our gadgets, on our phones, compared to the time we spend in building our relationships or more, it is really, really disheartening. Do you get? People can be living in the same house, and most of the time they are pressing their phones, using their gadgets. No actual live communications, as if you people are strangers, living in the same house. I actually had this issue at some point. I just realized that my spouse was the person who kind of, had a lot to do with their phones, always on their phones, doing one or two things. There are people who that they can be anywhere with their phones, in the restroom, in the kitchen, while they are sleeping. Even, in fact, I used to think that those who go to the bathroom without their phones is because the phone is not waterproof. Otherwise, they will still use their phones in the bathroom. So I realized that he was the kind of person who always wanted to be with his phone, even when we're eating. And I was like, no, this is not right. Sometimes you should set some time apart, to just keep your phones, And I brought it up. I was like, you are always with your phone, even when we are eating. At least for the sake of dinner or lunch or whatever it is, drop your phone. Let's communicate, while we take our meals. Discuss, just talk about something apart from phones. And then we worked on that, and it was like a rule in my house. Nobody's allowed, to use their phones when you are eating or taking a meal. Do you get me? So what I'm trying to say is the harm technology has done to our relationships. I'm not saying technology is wrong. Don't get me wrong. Okay, I'm just saying that the amount of time we are paying to these things is actually affecting our relationships without us even knowing. Do you get me? So we need to really try to balance this. I cannot count the number of relationships that technology has actually destroyed. Do you get me? People are always on their phones. Like, you can never have a normal conversation without picking the topics from a phone or anything. Trust me, you can even take a walk. Sometimes just drop your phones, take a walk, gist, gossip about your neighbors if you want to. Just discuss something apart from your phones. Okay, it brings you closer. Take a walk. If it's an exercise, trust me, and it's very, very cheap and affordable. Take a walk, talk, discuss, talk about the past, talk about the future, talk about your childhood. As they say, talk they bring talk. You might even hear something from your partner that they haven't told you before, in the process of talking, gisting and chatting. Okay, like I said, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying technology is bad. I'm just saying that the amount of time we put in these gadgets and spend with technology, we should also channel such efforts to our relationships, okay, so that they can be better than what they already are. So let us go to how we can overcome this challenge, these communication challenges. Like I always say, there is no problem without a solution, and in this case we actually have a solution or some solutions to this communication challenge. And the first on my list for how to overcome these challenges is to practice active listening. Like we said in the first point, lack of active listening. Okay, so like I was saying, one of the ways we can overcome this communication challenge is by practicing active listening. If you remember, in the first tip I dropped about the challenge is lack of active listening. So if you want to curtail or how to deal with this challenge and overcome the challenge of this communication challenge, rather you should practice active listening. Try to be a listener. Sometimes listen. I'm not saying you should not talk, but when you listen, you have something even more tangible to chip in. There are people who do the talking and talking and talking and talking. Be empathetic. Put yourself in this person's shoe. How would you feel if you were the person just, being ignored, not being listened to? It hurts. Do you get me? So sometimes try to listen. Be the listener. Okay? Listen. Hear what the person has to say. Then you bring up your own point. Do you get me? And then both of you can work together and see how you can bring solution to the problem. Then the next way we can overcome this communication challenge is by, if you schedule regular communication. Schedule regular communication. Drop your phones, gist, talk. Like I said earlier, you can even take a walk if need be. Go out if you can afford it. Just find time to talk about yourself. Talk about your future, talk about your pains. Like I said, talk about your childhood, talk about the past, talk about anything, anything, any conversation at all. You can even gossip about your neighbors if you want, like I said. But find time, communicate, drop your gadgets, drop your phones, talk. It will help you to draw closer. Do you get me? Women actually like being listened to. I know men like being listened to. We are the talking ones. So, find time, talk. I used to say it that sometimes these women who go out to gossip is because their spouses and partners are home. Don't give them a listening ear. If they have somebody who will listen to them, listen to their, chat and gossip, they will not go out there. So trust me, as the partners that you are, please try and, schedule conversations, talk, have time to just gist and chat about, one or two things. Okay, I hope you've taken that down. And the third way we can overcome communication challenges is by, you seek feedback and clarification. After you guys have, talked about these issues you're facing, you take time to ask your partner, how have I been, changing? Have I been improving? You talked about me using my phone too many times. Have I improved? Encourage them if need be. It will help them to do better. Let them know if they're actually changing, or doing better. Do you get me? And then the last way we can overcome communication challenges is by seeking professional help. Yes, it is okay to ask for help. You can talk to older couples who are still together. You can even see a therapist if need be. All right, there are some problems really that you cannot solve on your own. You need to talk to someone out there, whichever one works for you, either seeing a therapist or talking to older couples. It doesn't matter. I'm just saying that it is okay to ask for help at some point in time. Okay, there's nothing wrong with asking for help. Okay, that is all I have for you on this communication challenge topic. I really hope you were able to, learn one or two things of how you can tackle these communication challenges if you have any. And if you don't have any, good for you. Keep rocking your relationship and keep doing okay. Like I always say, take lots of water, stay hydrated, stay out of trouble out there. Remember to drop your contributions in the comment section, your questions. We're very glad, to tackle them. And I hope you'll be there when I come back next time for the next show, Family Matters. Thank you very much for staying with me. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.